Bringing down the house and reaping the profits of advantage play isn't easy, but my AP friends and I are proof that it can be done.
So you played for how long?
I don't know how long I've been down there, an hour and a half. I bought in, I think, for 1,400, and I have like 10,000 something right there.
I started my card counting journey almost 20 years ago, and it's worked out pretty well for me. But that doesn't mean I would do everything the same. And it's a different casino environment than it was 20 years ago. What would I do if I was starting my card counting career right now? I'm gonna share that with you in this video. I'm Colin from Blackjack Apprenticeship, and the truth is 99% of people who set out to become card counters don't make it. The number one problem I see for why people fail is that they never get a winning game. People ask me what my training was like, and it was terrible. I spent the first few hundred hours in the casino getting backed off while also losing money. Fortunately, I've learned a ton about mastering card counting from my years playing, running teams, and running Blackjack Apprenticeship. If I were starting now, I would break down each of the steps and master them individually while slowly putting them together. Basic strategy down backwards and forwards, counting through a deck of cards in under 25 seconds, true count and deviations mastered, implementing a bet spread, then putting all those together one at a time so that I can implement it all perfectly at home before even considering stepping into a casino. Another thing I would absolutely do if I was starting now is find another card counter to train with. There are online forums where you can find other active or aspiring APs to train with. If they are new to card counting like me, then I would meet up every week and deal to each other until our games are perfect. If they're further along than me, I'd offer to buy them coffee or lunch to just meet with me every week and deal to me and help me progress in my training. If I'm having any doubts about my game, I'm gonna find a pro to test me out. The cost to get a pro's analysis of my game is far cheaper than making mistakes at the casino over the rest of my career. Getting tested by a pro was the single most valuable thing that happened to me when I started card counting. I can't emphasize this enough. Card counting is not easy money, and I see these new card counters that never get tested out, and then they're complaining about the thousands or tens of thousands of dollars that they've lost in the casino. I tell people two things needed to make it as a card counter are brains and a bankroll. For a large portion of aspiring card counters, they may develop their skills, but they never get their bankroll sorted out. Some of these people overbet their bankrolls and go bust. Others don't have a big enough bankroll to bet enough to make any money, so they never make any profits. If I started today, I'd make sure that I've run the numbers on the bankroll requirements needed to generate some positive expected value while also keeping my risk of ruin incredibly low. If you're wanting me to tell you the bankroll size you need and exactly what to bet, unfortunately, it's not that simple. There are too many variables like table limits, rules, deck penetration, the expected value you're willing to live with and risk you're willing to live with. While spending the 2 or 3 months it's gonna take to train, if I'm underfunded, I would make sure that I'm saving aggressively so that I have the bankroll I need when I get started at the tables. If I'm aspiring to down the road go pro, I would want at least 5,000 to 10,000 to get started, but more is always better. Remember, card counting is a marathon, not a sprint. So I wanna make sure that I'm neither underfunded or overbetting my bankroll. All right, I've got my brains and my bankroll sorted out. I'm ready to start attacking the casinos. So how would I go about this now? If I started today, I would look for a smaller bet spread that I could start. It's still positive EV, but it's like training wheels while I get comfortable and confident in the casinos before putting my entire bankroll at risk. When we ran blackjack teams, once a player could pass both an in-home and at-casino test out, we would give them a smaller bet spread to use for the first 80 or 100 hours of play because they are always far more comfortable, confident, and prepared in a casino than they were when they first started. Remember, there's the math side of card counting, but also the art, the ability to act in a casino in a way that you can get in the hours. So spending those first 80 to 100 hours in the casino getting comfortable and confident so you can handle yourself well will pay off down the road. It's not just how you play that makes you successful at blackjack, it's also about where you play. That brings up the question, where would I play if I were starting now? Not all blackjack games are created equal, and if you're playing poor or mediocre rules, then best case scenario, you're gonna be grinding way harder to eke out a profit at the tables. If I were starting today, I would be selective about what rules and deck penetration I would play at. Because my goal is not to play blackjack. My goal is to get a good return on my time at the blackjack tables. If I find a good game at a local casino, I'm certainly not gonna sit there hours every single day like it's a day job. I would put my time and energy into spreading my play around, taking notes on what shifts are better, what dealers offer better deck penetration, anything noteworthy. I'd try to avoid any single session wins that might be a little too much for that casino. If it's your local casino, you want to generate positive EV, but also see if there's a way to shear the sheep rather than skin it. One of the absolutely best at this goes by the name Scott Chow. He did a podcast with us a while back about how for several years now he's been making six figures only playing casinos within a 4-hour drive of him. He's methodical, strategic, and approaches card carrying incredibly professionally.
I have notes about what's a tolerated spread. So I might spread 10 to 200 in a place just because it's a really good game, but they're going to freak. And you can figure out a scheme where you're getting the money you need in the least amount of time that makes sense in your life with the least amount of travel that won't drive you crazy.
Also in these early days, I would play unrated as much as possible because that way if I do get backed off, they don't have my driver's license, a name, or anything that they can put in a database other than a picture of an anonymous person. There may be opportunities far more valuable down the road than those first few months as a card counter, so I would be trying to protect my name for that. Is it time for blackjack trips? My availability to local profitable games would help me determine when and how often to take some blackjack trips further from home. Maybe it's a 3-day weekend here and there, but if I've got the bankroll to generate some higher EV, much higher than my travel expenses, then I would look for some strategic places where I could generate a lot of EV in a short period of time and use that to further spread out my play even more beyond my local games. Taking it a step further, by the end of year one, I would want to know some other ways to generate EV in a casino. Blackjack Hall of Famer Richard Munchkin talks about how new card counters and advantage players tend to have tunnel vision when they walk into a casino. And I've seen it firsthand where newer players walk right past some fairly obvious opportunities if they just looked around. And it's not just new players. I missed out on tons of EV by not being curious about how different rules, promotions, special offers, or games could be exploited. If I started today, I would stay curious and be committed to my ongoing learning as an advantage player. This way, I'd be more likely to profit off of unique opportunities that may present themselves. When would I go full-time? I'll be the first to admit that full-time advantage play is not easy and is not even a good fit for 99% of people.
I ended up at one point up 14K, and then I had really bad shoes, like 4 or 5 shoes in a row. There was a pit boss who sat at my table the entire time. In the end, she walks up to me and says, "Mark, can I talk to you?" She's like, "You're finished."
It works out for most people to be a better investment than a full-time job. Here's what I'd want to have figured out before going full-time. First off, is full-time advantage play the best way to reach my goals? Secondly, do I have enough experience to handle it both financially and emotionally? Third, do I have the bankroll requirements necessary to generate enough EV to support myself and also the savings to live off of in the meantime? Some of my closest friends are making a killing as full-time APs, but it is not for everyone. Which begs the question, if card carrying and advantage play are so profitable, why are you making YouTube videos? Well, let me explain to you the top 5 reasons card counters quit in this video.